Hi everyone, this is a very quick, I hope, explanation of the peer presentation instructions and guidelines, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes going over each of the sections of importance that you need to understand to do your peer presentation. I hope it answers all of your questions. By now you've been assigned a case study, and you will be presenting with a group of your peers during weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. The task of your group is to develop a presentation outlining the key concepts and ideas from that case study and to highlight how knowledge of specific sex offender typologies contributed to the resolution or conviction in that case. Your analysis and presentation is intended to help your classmates and yourself understand the typologies better, but also how knowledge of the typologies are critical tools in the investigative and prosecutorial process. Content of your presentation has at least 5 at minimum content areas that you need to cover. The first is a comprehensive summary of the case, including detailed descriptions of the victim, perpetrators, environment, and circumstances surrounding the offense and the offending behavior. The next is a description of the sex offender typology under consideration in that case study. And following on that, a discussion, a list, or description of the perpetrator's characteristics that provide evidence of the sex offender typology. How does that offender fit the profile? The next item is a discussion, or the next content area is a discussion and conclusion about how and why knowledge of this particular typology is important to law enforcement, not only as the crime is investigated, but as it's tried and after conviction as the offender is punished. Why do police, lawyers, judges, correction officers, prison officials need to know these typologies? And finally, you need to make sure that your presentation is APA formatted throughout the body of your paper and in a reference page. Equal participation among all group members is required. I encourage teams to make a list of the topics or the tasks and then assign those to individuals. I also require, not encourage, but require that your team create one presentation out of everyone's contributions and one person out of the group post that presentation to the peer presentation forum. Your presentation may have multiple documents and multiple pieces, but that all of those things should be either uploaded, posted in the peer presentation forum by one single individual who represents your entire team. Grading is team-based for this presentation. Whatever grade you get, all of your team members will get as well. Because this is the case, team members should notify me immediately if a presentation team member is not pulling their weight or doing their share. Following few things are just things to think about, nothing that I'm prescribing or requiring. The first is the distribution of work. You get to decide yourselves how to divide up the work to create the presentation. I give you the structure in terms of what's required, but you guys get to decide who does what. The next is presentation materials. While not required, I highly encourage that you create handouts. And by handouts, I don't mean you're actually going to hand, but you will post perhaps a document that accompanies your presentation that lists the major takeaways, perhaps the major facts relevant to the case, significant concepts, key points, definitions, and so on. Things that you think that would be very useful to your peers as they continue to study these sex offender typologies. One of the more significant questions you might have is what the format of your presentation has to be, and this I think will make all of you feel much better. You do not have to use PowerPoint, Prezi, or other presentation software. That's not required to meet the expectations of this assignment. You can simply post a lengthy, detailed, thorough, well-organized, and thoughtful discussion post in the forum as long as it covers all of the required content components and has some supporting documents. That is entirely fine. Use of presentation materials, however, like Prezi or PowerPoint or Slides.com or Haiku Deck and so on, are highly recommended, and you may earn a higher grade if you use such presentation materials. Similarly, you're not required to add narration to any presentation materials if you do not wish to, but I would love it if you did. I think that makes a fantastic presentation, and again, a higher grade may be earned if you do record audio or provide additional graphical or video media incorporated into your presentation. And finally, you do need a reference page presented in APA style with your presentation materials, all sources cited throughout the body of your work as well. If you don't cite properly, you may be committing plagiarism. Perhaps the most important component of this presentation is your planning and your communication. It is recommended that you schedule a meeting as soon as possible. If you can't, make sure at least that you schedule your meetings well in advance of the week you present. Since it's an online class, you're not going to be able to meet in person, but your group meetings can be by chat, discussion board, or even exchange of phone numbers to do a conference call. A group space has been created within our course site, and it contains a number of mechanisms and tools to help you communicate with each other. Every part of the presentation can be developed as a group by using your group site, even if you're not physically anywhere near each other. If you take a look at this graphic, you can see on the left-hand menu of the course site there's a link called Groups. If you click on that, you get a listing of groups 1 through 5 or 6, however many we have, and you would click on Group 1 or Groups 1 if that's your group or whatever group you happen to be, and then if you look right there at the very bottom under Group Tools, it shows you all of the various mechanisms you have for communicating with one another. And again, you get to decide how you do the communication, but you need to make sure that you are communicating and collaborating well in advance. The timeline for the presentation is as follows. If you are assigned a particular week, so say you are week 5, you have to present your materials and post them in the peer presentation forum by Monday of that week, which means that obviously you would need to do all of your work for that week during week 4 or before that. Presentations start week 4, which means that those folks in week 4 should begin collaboration and reading during weeks 2 and 3, if at all possible. So by Monday of that week, post your group's presentation, materials, handouts, and so on to the peer presentation forum. By Wednesday of that week, all of your peers in class will be posting their reactions or significant questions to your presentation. And then you guys in the presentation group will have by Sunday to answer all the questions or responses to each of the reaction posts submitted by your peers. It is up to you how you divide up the responses to your peers, but each group member should respond to at least 2, and every single one of your peers has to have a response. Okay, finally, I've given you a list of resources for presentation tools if you're interested in using those, and I also have the peer presentation rubric available as well. And there is a presentation, a Google presentation that I'll post, as well as this video, as well as the document called Presentation Guidelines. But in this particular presentation, not the video, but the Google presentation, the rubric right here, you can click on, as I'm going to do right now, and it opens, and it opens, and it opens, and there it is. There's your peer presentation rubric, and that is also available to you in the course website, or the course site as well. Okay, again, if you have any questions, don't forget you can email me at any time. Hopefully this is all of the info that you need to craft your presentation, and you won't have additional questions or concerns, but if you do, don't forget to reach out. All right, everyone, have a great weekend.